Hello everyone, Andrew with the St. Cloud SCHEELS store here. We're going to be talking about baitcasters today, and we're going to go over backlashes, how to get rid of backlashes, how to prevent backlashes, and then just beginner setups on reels, and then something for maybe more of an avid angler or more experience that wants to take the next step in their fishing experience. So we'll kick it off with the Black Max. This is going to be made by Abu Garcia. It's going to be a price point reel. It's going to be $50, but a really good value for $50. It's going to be one that beginners like to start with because you're not expending a bunch of money on a reel. You're just going to be getting introduced into it to get the feel for it, see if you like it or not. With this reel, you still have your spool tensioner knob and you still have a brake so that you can slow down that spool or speed it up to get more distance on your cast, or maybe bring it in as a more controlled cast if you're a beginner to try and reduce the amount of backlashes that you can have happen. When you step up into a more expensive reel, for example, we have Daiwas here, we have Daiwa Tatulas. Those are going to have the same adjustments, but they're going to allow a little bit more fine tuning with it so that you again reduce the backlashes that can happen when you're just out on the water in a run and gun scenario where you're trying to catch as many fish as possible in as little time as possible. The benefits to doing something like that at the price point of about $200 is you're going to gain more adjustments. You're going to gain the fine tuning aspects to where when you really give that cast a good toss, you're confident enough that you're not going to have issues on the back side of it with a backlash or a knot or snapping your jig off because your line just couldn't come off fast enough. In turn, you're going to get a farther cast out of it the looser you have it. But in time, you can learn how to do that. I always tell people when you first start out, start with your brakes not fully on, but I would say 3/4 on, and then your spool tensioner knob. When you have that all the way loose, it's going to allow your spool to free spool. So when you're letting your line come off, you can see that spool spinning. It's going to spin at a faster rate. It's going to allow more line to come off. If you tighten down that spool tensioner knob, it's going to slow it down. It's going to be more controlled, but you're going to lack distance. So if I have it all the way tight and I have that down, you can see it doesn't spin at all. It's completely locked up. It's going to allow zero turn. So you want to fine tune it somewhere in the middle there where you're comfortable and can reduce the amount of complications that you run into in the end. So what we have in front of us is we actually have a backlash reel here. So what happens when I'm on the water is when you're beginning or you just panic, you think, okay, I have a backlash. I have to cut all this line off and restart from scratch. At about $20 a spool, you don't want to have to do that all the time. So if it's something where you got to leave it sit, come back to it at the end of the day, in the evening in your garage, that's totally fine. If you're limited on rods and reels and you got to make this work, we'll go over how to do that. The easiest way to do it is first find that backlash. So what I'll do is I'll push down that bail and I'll pull my line out with my finger on that spool so I can try and get down to where that knot is. And as you pull it, you're going to take all that loose line and you're going to get rid of it so that you can get down to the root of the problem. At the root of the backlash or the actual knot itself, what I'll do is I'll take that line and I'll use a forceps and I'll try and pull up on that loop and I'll pull it up as far as I can, as loose as I can. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that line and it's going to get rid of that knot. All it is it's just a loop that has now gone all around that spool to get your line underneath itself. It's not a true knot. So then once I do that, again, I'll put my finger on that spool and I'll just pull my line out till it's straight. And then you can see your spool is nice and clean. And then I'll just reel it up like normal with some tension on it so that my line stays perfectly tight and ready to roll. If that happens on the water, I'm confident I can get it out 98% of the time. Sometimes it's just so bad, I just want to take a break, deal with it later, and just keep on fishing since the sun's only up for so long. If you guys have any questions as far as bass fishing goes, reels, recommendations, line recommendations, or hey, bring in a baitcaster that's backlashed, we can usually get it out for you and no problem. And if you have any concerns or further questions, just stop in your local SCHEELS store or find us on SCHEELS.com.